Thanks, Michael. Now, last year the Toastmaster was Stan Schmidt, editor of Analog, and he proved to the crowd exactly why he's been able to edit Analog for so long. Everyone who was here, there in Pittsburgh, heard him tell a story of how he was flying in a prop plane, right? Took a picture of the propeller with his camera, was able to do these arcane calculations of the shutter speed, and was able to use that to figure out how fast the plane was going. That's why he's the editor of Analog, and I have to tell you that the Toastmaster now at the moment happens to be a guy who, when he's on a prop plane, looks out the window at the propeller, he says, how the hell does it stay in the air? So, and if I perhaps paid attention to aerodynamics, I might have a job still. That's all I can say. That's the important difference. But I know that there's not really no more science fiction age just because of that. And there's really one person who's in this room who I can blame for the death of science fiction age, and I think it's time to out him, and that man is Paul Levinson. And when Paul Levinson, our president, who really around the house I refer to as Dr. Evil, he asked me to be Toastmaster, and I'm really generally a happy-go-lucky kind of guy. I've been editing Science Fiction Age for 8 years, and seemed like it would go on forever, and there were Hugo nominations and Nebula nominations, and more importantly, I had the privilege of taking a lollipop out of Ellen Dadlow's mouth and putting up my nose. And but who hasn't here? That's the most important thing to know. And then the request comes from Paul. He says, you want to be Toastmaster? Within 3 months, it was dead. That was it. And I say, who do I blame for this? Do I blame the publisher at Sovereign Media, Mark Kintz, who for years has tried to uphold the fine publishing traditions of Hugo Gernsback? Whenever he was asked to sign a check, the hand would just form into this palsied lump. Do I blame him? No, it is Paul Levinson who is responsible. And do I blame the co-owner, Carl Nam, who would rather have another Lamborghini than another issue of Science Fiction Age? No, it is Paul. I'm not bitter. I'm not bitter. But it is Paul Levinson who is responsible for this. As soon as he asked me to be Toastmaster, it all fell apart. Within a month of him asking me, they asked me to be editorial director over all the magazines, the wonderful military history magazines and log home magazines and so forth, so that less of my time was devoted to science fiction. I say, this is the secret that the publishers have. Right, Tom, you know this. The secret the publishers have, editors are too important to edit. That is the main secret that all the publishers know. So the axe fell on Age so that I have more time to spend tracking down scoops about the hygiene of WWF wrestlers. And thank you, Paul. Thank you, Paul. You bastard. It's your fault. And what's worse than that is coming up here. He thinks he's doing me a favor by having me come up here and talk to people. And you've been around, Paul. You know what it means to come up here because he hates me. That's really what it is. I've been going to these things, and there's something that's worse than the Nebulas, and that's what happens after the Nebulas. That man, you see the gardener over there? Let me tell you what happens after the Nebulas. What happens after the Nebulas is you go sit at the bar, and there's Gardner, and there's Ginger, wherever Ginger is, right? And they sit there and they go, Barbara Marx Hubbard, is he better than Barbara Marx Hubbard? Or how does that performance compare to Barbara Marx Hubbard? And they say, well, he was a little better than that Cajun comedian. He was a little bit, but it's been, that's what, oh, very good, thank you. So this is what I have to look forward to you. So all I ask, Gardner, is later tonight that you be gentle, the way you were last night. Okay, that's all. I'm sure you can do it again. So Gordon, where you are, Gordon, you're back there. If you see Paul coming to you, he's got this odd light in his eye, and he's looking at you. Run the other way. FNSF has lasted a long time, but that'll be the end of it. So now, ladies and gentlemen, I have to introduce to you a man who is a 6-time Hugo, Nebula, and Sturgeon Award nominee, the man who you know of as your president, but the man who I think of as the person who destroyed my science fiction career, Paul Levinson. Levinson. Have fun.
Well, everything Scott said is completely true. And the reason why I did it is he never bought any of my stories. So, I had to do what I could.